Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's collection of stories are coming from the OhNoConsequences subreddit, where people are genuinely shocked by the consequences for their own words and actions. And we're starting off with a story from Slight King 3996. It says, I, 17 male, might not be my dad's son, and my older brother, 20 male, and my parents are making my life hell. My dad and I never had a close relationship growing up, him always preferring my older brother, Junior, 20 male. Junior always had preferential treatment compared to the two of us, always the golden child, and always could do no wrong. I was always the scapegoat, always mistreated, always forgotten between the two. Our grandfather started and ran a very successful business in the area, and before he died left it and a substantial amount of money in a trust to be inherited by all legitimate grandchildren. Grandfather didn't like our mother much, which I will get into. Our dad has a job in the business, but no real power or authority in it, just job security at the company. Well, last weekend my dad was digging through some old boxes and found my mum's old diaries, and it turned out she had an affair over 20 years ago that ended just under 10 years ago when the affair partner died in a car crash. After much arguing and turmoil, my parents agreed to stay together, but only if me and Junior took DNA tests, and depending on the results they kicked the bastard out. Since the agreement, we've been to the labs. My dad's gone to a lawyer to draft papers, whatever that means, and my brother's harassment has been worse than ever. Entering my room with a, "Hey there, bastard." I've asked my mum to stand up for me, but she refused and just says I need to be strong, and that's it. We should be getting the test results back in tomorrow, and my best friend's dad has agreed to take me in. I can't take it. What should I do? Now, in this one, it kind of just feels like the DNA result doesn't really matter in the end because they're already treating him like absolute shit. The brother calling him a bastard, the dad talking about kicking the bastard out, and the mother just standing there doing absolute nothing, saying be strong instead of protecting her child. Imagine being this 17-year-old, 17 years old, and he's being treated like this by his own family. Part of me is just thinking, I wonder if you can actually just stay with your best friend indefinitely. I know that's a big thing to ask of someone else, but these people just sound awful. A commenter also says, no matter the results, you should go live with your best friend's dad as your home life is so awful and toxic. I'm sorry you're being put through this. Are you still in high school? Go talk to your school counselor immediately. Economy Excitement says, move out. Even if it comes back with your legal father, he's making it clear you are unwanted. Don't do anything that would force you out of the company. That is why your brother is being a total ass. He wants to get the money, and if you go total no contact, he might be able to rob you. If you are your legal parent's child, contact the lawyers of your grandfather to see what you can get to pay for school. The best revenge is to live a great life without them in it. I know this sucks. Get some professional help with dealing with this. The emotional trauma of this will linger for decades. Dark Helmet says, also please do not for any reason sign any document given to you without discussing it with a professional unrelated to your family. You should also make sure to keep notes about what is going on. If your father is drafting papers and the point is to disinherit you from your grandfather's estate, he should not be able to sign those papers on your behalf because he is conflicted, self-dealing, which in the legal world is a breach of fiduciary duties and challengeable in court. So OP came in with her update, which was 3 years after that, and said, am I the arsehole for forcing my parents to keep disowning my half-brother? My parents never got along with me, 21 male. They clearly favored my half-brother Junior, 23 male. My dad was especially harsh, since he wasn't what I considered an ideal son. My grandparents started a fairly successful small HVAC business in our area, and my father has a job there, but no real power. With the actual business ownership belonging to a trust, my grandfather didn't trust my father with financial decisions. 3 years ago, my dad found some old diaries my mum had, and in them she detailed an affair that went on until the affair partner died 12 years ago in a car wreck. They argued for days, precisely because the trust that owns the business will be going to only biological grandchildren. My grandfather hated my mum and suspected her of fooling around. My parents agreed to reconcile if Junior and I took DNA tests. Both Junior and my dad were sure I would not be biologically related, and they would get to kick the bastard out. Well, 3 years ago, we went to a lab, went to a lawyer's office, and the test came in. I was my father's son. Junior was not. What's more is the house we live in was also to go to only biological grandchildren, and my birthday was coming up. My father was subdued on the drive home, but Junior was still mouthy. My father, to his credit, tried to mend fences that night. He looked awful. He cried. He begged for forgiveness. He asked what he could do to start making things up. I said, kick the bastard out. My parents begged, pleaded for me to try anything but that. Set up family counseling, get us fixed. I wouldn't budge. I pointed out they were fully ready to kick me out that night if I wasn't my father's son. My father kicked Junior out that night, but he was doing it full of tears. I must confess, my relationship with my parents did not get better. My father acts like a broken man and my mother is just silent. Honestly, they should have divorced long ago, but they don't argue anymore. I started working at the family business, going to college on the side. My parents are outright timid around me now. My father would try to spend time with me, but I brush him off. Lately, they would both ask if I was willing to have the three of us contact Junior and have us all mend fences. I keep refusing and ask, if it was me, would you even be asking? My mentor at my grandfather's business knows the situation and has asked me if I'm doing this because I want to hurt them or if I want to avoid being hurt. A commenter says to OP, not the arsehole. This goofy family has dropped more crap on you from their inability to have healthy relationships than you should ever have to deal with. One more commenter says, not the arsehole, but I think you're going about it the wrong way. There should be no credit to your father. The only reason he tried to rebuild a relationship with you right away is because he found out that you are their meal ticket. I can't even imagine the heartache you must have grown up with. What that car ride to the clinic before you knew the truth must have felt like. The fear of you thinking you're about to be kicked out of the only family you have known. My advice to you is to get therapy. Accept that your birth family is never going to be what you want them to be. You already grew up, and they already messed up your childhood. Figure out what you want for your life and pursue that. Remember, you owe them nothing. The business and the house belong to your grandparents and now you. Put yourself first, since they never bother to do that for you. They're all just a bunch of scummy people who treated OP absolutely poorly. The moment they believed OP wasn't biologically theirs, they were all fully prepared to throw him out. There was no hesitation. There's no, this is the child I raised, no loyalty after 17 years. And then the DNA results come back and suddenly he's crying and wants forgiveness, wants a relationship and family counseling. Why? Because OP turned out to be the heir, the biological grandchild tied to that trust, the house and the family business. And OP even pointed it out later that if the results had gone the other way, nobody would have been fighting to reunite the family. He would have just been discarded. And I really hope that OP does find some professional help to deal with this at the same time, because that's gotta mess you up, right? But also remembering that he owes these people absolute zero. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account and says, am I the arsehole for telling my wife my mother is correct and she needed to be a parent today and she fucked it up? I'm waiting in the airport and I need to know if I fucked up or not. This week, my daughter, she's in middle school, lost a classmate. My daughter is not taking it well, and overall this is her first experience of someone she knows dying. The whole class was excused from school today and the funeral is happening right now. I unfortunately could not be there. I tried, but my PTO was denied and we cannot lose this job. I flew out on Wednesday night and I'm coming back now. Our daughter is a mess. She was friends with the girl that passed away. The plan was for my wife, she's unemployed at the moment, to take her to the funeral/mass and just be there. My wife is more spiritual than the average person and hates all things with the dead, funerals, viewing and so on. This one is only a mass funeral. No viewing. She believes in ghosts and will avoid funerals like the plague. We discussed it on Wednesday and she said she would take our kid and then go to the gravesite. I got a call from my daughter sobbing that she wasn't going to the funeral. My wife was refusing to take her. When I got her to answer my call, she told me she can't do it and she is scared to go. I called up my mum and asked her to pick up my daughter and take her to the funeral. My mum left work and took her. They are there now. I got a call from my wife after with her crying because my mum tore a new one. The gist was my mum called her a bad parent and that is so fucked up that she couldn't take our kid to the funeral of a classmate. She wants me to make my mum apologize, and I told her my mum was right, that this was something that our daughter needed and she fucked up, that she wasn't acting like a parent because of her fear of the dead. All she needed to do was stay through mass. We got into a huge phone call argument and she's calling me a huge dick. My mum is apparently getting texts also, and I told her not to let our daughter know that we are fighting, and if she could look after her for the day. She agreed. Bloody hell, and not the arsehole, honestly. This is just one of those moments where I think being a parent means doing something uncomfortable because your child needs you, your kid needs you. A middle schooler losing a friend is just going to be so traumatic. And OP said it's her first experience with losing someone that she knows, and your daughter needed support, closure, and a chance to say goodbye alongside her classmates. And don't get me wrong, the wife's fear of funerals and ghosts might be real to her, but she had agreed to do this and then backed out while the daughter was sobbing and grieving, and that's the part that makes it hard to defend. And I kind of get why the mum was furious at the same time, because from the outside it looks like the grieving child needs a parent, the parent's refusing, and grandmother has to leave work to step in. But a commenter says, not the arsehole. Your wife let her own feelings get in the way of her daughter's. As a parent, she needs to get used to doing things that might make her uncomfortable for the sake of her child's mental health and well-being. Your wife let your daughter down today. Your daughter isn't going to forget that her mother wasn't there for her. They both need therapy. Your daughter because losing a friend at her age is absolutely traumatizing, and your wife because her fear of death and ghosts led to her traumatizing your daughter even more. A commenter says, holy smokes, not the arsehole, but you got a serious mess on your hands when you get home. If I were you, I'd focus on your daughter's broken heart for a while. Don't try to resolve the anger and mess with your wife's fear of the dead. When you get home, take daughter out for a walk, a cry, and a hug, and talk about what you can do together to remember her friend. Maybe write a story of a fun time together that she can give to the mum of her friend. Let the weird wife situation just lay dormant for a while. Don't apologize, but also don't be a dick about it. When your daughter has been properly attended to, ask for a conversation with your wife. Tell her that you think she's let her fears take over, and if she knew she couldn't take her daughter to the funeral of her friend, then she needed to be the one to arrange alternate transportation. The full drop-off and ignoring her child was a bad parenting call. The commenter says, not the arsehole, the cardinal rule of parenting is to do what is best for your kid whenever it is possible. Your wife decided her discomfort was more important than your daughter's need for closure. That's simply a bad parenting decision / selfish decision. Another commenter says, I'm 42. When I was 12, a close friend of mine died suddenly. My mother A, knew and didn't tell me. B, refused to let me go to any services because it would be too sad to see a dead child. And C, was actually furious when I figured out that she died because my mother didn't want me to know. I have not forgiven her for what she did back then. I never will. So thank you for being a good person. Not the arsehole. I actually hate your wife. One more commenter says, not the arsehole, thank you for making sure your daughter still had a way to go to the funeral. And doubly thank your mother for sacrificing her time because your wife sucks. It still would have been shitty of her, but your wife could have even dropped your daughter off and arranged a ride home after. She didn't think of solutions, only ways to be a problem. Edit, I'd be heavily considering either couples counseling or divorce myself if my husband tried this with one of my kids. OP replies saying, I'm thinking we need to go to counseling or she needs to get into therapy for this because what the fuck was she thinking? But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from 1961 Tracy, who says fraudulent paperwork doesn't help. I used to work in traffic court and would have what we'd call frequent flyers. It would always be the same people with the same violations that never learned their lessons. Then there was a whole other level of frequent flyers that were so bad that we never wanted to see them because they were always arrogant, impatient, and entitled. They felt like they were above the law and thought driving safely was a joke. One woman that we dealt with for several months was named Tina. She had 4 cases under appeal, all speeding, and 1 trial pending. She was in some sort of healthcare job that required a valid license, but also had a code of ethics for people on her profession to follow, which included not having multiple speeding violations on a driving license in 1 year. Her driving license was under review, and the 5th case would definitely suspend it. She visited us once a week regarding the appeal status and insisted on only talking with my supervisor. According to Tina, the regular rank and file was not knowledgeable enough for needs. She was super desperate because she was about to be let go from her job and possibly have her professional license yanked. Anytime she visited, she wasted tons of time and energy. She took the 5th case to trial. Her charges were for speeding and not having insurance in her possession. At the arraignment, the judge asked Tina for the insurance, but she said she forgot it and that she will bring it to the trial. About a month goes by and trial day comes for Tina. It didn't go well for her. She had to pay a huge fine for speeding and the judge denied her insurance. Altogether, it was about a $3,000 ticket. Of course, she took out her uncontainable wrath on the clerk who gave her paperwork to sign, and a bailiff had to be called to deal with her. About 2 weeks later, I see a complaint filed for her from the DA. The insurance she tried to show the judge was fraudulent. Her insurance had been cancelled prior to the issuing date of the ticket. Her record was so bad she couldn't get insurance, so she ended up lying about it. After she gets served with the complaint, she ends up admitting at arraignment that she falsified the insurance information. She ended up with about $2,000 in fines, a misdemeanor and a work project commitment. She completely melted down and she was told her license was suspended for 6 months. All the work on the appeals to prevent license suspension went down the tubes because she thought she could be sneaky. She didn't count on the trial clerk verifying with the insurance company she listed. After the trial, she went from department to department crying and looking for my supervisor. She was creating so much of a distraction that the bailiffs had to move her to the parking lot where she sat and cried while she waited for her Uber. Her appeals ended up being denied and her license ended up being suspended for 2 years altogether. We thankfully never saw her again. I assume she moved states and started her shenanigans elsewhere because I doubt she learned her lessons. Multiple speeding tickets, appeals already pending, license under review, career depending on keeping a clean record, and what was the solution to this? What if I commit insurance fraud in traffic court? What a bloody Burke. And it's just the arrogance of people like this. The staff clearly knew her by name at that point, and she constantly demanded supervisors, treated everyone like shit, and still thought nobody would verify the paperwork. Also, it was just the image of her going department to department crying looking for the supervisor after spending months acting superior to everyone. It's just chef's kiss. But like Opie said, she probably not learned her lesson. She's somewhere out there right now causing fucking havoc for someone else, which is sad in itself, isn't it? But a commenter says, people who constantly take shortcuts they shouldn't, break rules and half-ass their work assume everyone else does the same thing. That's how they justify their behavior to themselves. So when she submitted the fraudulent insurance info, she's probably stunned that someone bothered to verify it because if it had been her, she wouldn't have bothered. That's why she thought she could get away with it. She assumed that if she could pass it off in the moment, that would be enough because the idea of someone would actually check it never occurred to her. Oxy says, I was a probation officer. Had a guy who was coming up on the end of his term of supervision. For 6+ months, had been telling this dude, get your community service done. You've already done 20 hours, you have 20 more to go. He brought in his paperwork to me, I called to confirm like I always did. Yeah, dude had falsified the last 20 hours. Since he had submitted it to me, which was considered submitting it to court as I was the officer of the court, he picked up new charges of attempting to influence a public servant and falsifying court documents. The guy's probation was extended. He had to go back and actually do his 20 hours of community service plus another 20 the judge added on as part of the extension. He went from only having 20 hours left to having 40 to complete. I left that department before his extension ended, so I don't know if he actually finished or ended up having his probation fully revoked and serving the rest of his time in jail. It's never a good idea to submit falsified documents to the courts. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now this one comes from Posting for Advice and says, am I the arsehole here if I went to a hotel with my kids because of my mother-in-law's behavior with my daughter? I hope this is the right place to post. I apologize for asking on a short timeline. My husband and I are currently at my in-laws in Houston for the holidays. We live in Atlanta, but we're here for the holidays to see them. Just a bit of context so my reaction doesn't seem over the top. My mother-in-law always wanted a grandson. She used to say she was praying for one early in my pregnancy with my daughter. My husband and I didn't care. We just wanted our baby to be happy and healthy. After we had her, she kept pushing for us to have another. My son is 4 months old and my 2-year-old daughter is such a loving big sister to him. My mother-in-law's behavior to them is definitely partial. From the amount of Christmas presents she gave to the amount of time and love she gives. Now, all these things are things that are her effort to distribute as she wishes, so I didn't say anything. But today, me and her were with my son, while my husband was cuddling with my daughter. They have a really close bond and she's a real daddy's girl. My mother-in-law snapped at him and said to forget her for a bit and give his attention to my son who needs it. She said it in front of my daughter, who suddenly went quiet and looked confused and hurt. My son had 2 adults with him. He didn't need my husband to turn his attention from my daughter at the time. I said as much, and she said we're spoiling her to the detriment of our son, and that he needs it more, and we need to impress on my daughter's boundaries. Again, all in front of her. I lost it, took my son and my daughter and went to my husband's room, where we're staying. A few minutes later, my husband comes up, apologized for his mum, hugged our daughter and said Granny was having a bad day, but she loves you so much, don't take it to heart, blah blah. I told him I'm seriously considering just booking a hotel for the rest of the time we're here, till Saturday. He told me that would make things worse, that he'll talk to her and fix this. So he went downstairs again, but I'm still considering just going. Would that be an impulsive thing, an arsehole-ish thing to do? Thanks. Adding this now, he told me he impressed upon her that what she said and did would distance us from her and that things will go smoother. He said that me leaving with the kids would make our daughter feel like she caused it, which wouldn't be right. I asked him what exactly she said. He said she understood what he was saying, but I asked him exactly what she said, and he just seemed evasive. I've read some comments. Honestly, I'd much rather go back to Atlanta than stay in Houston at a hotel. I'll have to check how that can be done. He was asking me to bring us all back down. I said I wasn't ready, but he's taken our daughter out with him to make her feel better. Yuck. Mother-in-law is being absolutely awful here, and someone that I wouldn't personally want kids around. This woman's been treating like the granddaughter, almost like a placeholder ever since the grandson arrived. The favoritism is clearly already obvious with the gifts and attention, but snapping at a father for comforting his 2-year-old daughter is wild, and she did it right in front of the child as well. Yeah, personally, I wouldn't be hanging around that kind of behavior. Just got no time for it. Straight in a hotel or back home, whichever's easier for you at that moment in time. But commenter says, please keep your babies away from this woman. It will only get worse, and it could affect the relationship between the siblings. The sibling relationship is the more important one. It will last long after the grand and parents are gone. Your mother-in-law will destroy their relationship by favoring one and teaching your son he is somehow more important than your daughter. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. What if you were not there to witness? What will your husband do? Also, I feel like this kind of treatment will just get worse as your kids get older, unless mother-in-law will change. Your son will end up getting treated like a golden child by your mother-in-law. Opie says I hadn't thought of what my daughter might have heard from her in my absence. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. We live far away, that's not much interaction, but there's definitely have been times when I'm not there and it's just the two of them. It made me sick to think of. Commenter says, not the arsehole. Your husband's granny is just having a bad day comment is a bit of a red flag. It's a peacekeeping move that minimizes your daughter's feelings to avoid a fight with his mother. He needs to realize that by not making things worse with his mum, he's making things worse for his daughter. Commenter says, absolutely not. He's already started sweeping it under the rug. He told your daughter that his mother didn't mean it. She absolutely meant it. She has no shame about what she did. The only way she might stop is if there are consequences right now. Go get that hotel and maybe you can salvage your relationship with her. Maybe. Opie says this is going to sound like weaponized incompetence because I'm a grown woman with kids, but I don't want to have to stay in a hotel in Houston for days without him. If I go, I'm going to need him to come with us. A commenter says, Granny wasn't having a bad day. Granny is a bitch. Let's call a spade here. She doesn't care about your daughter. She wanted a grandson, and now she has one, so in her mind, the rest of you are useless extra weight. Do not take those children to see her again. Tell your husband he can either set her straight or she can be cut off. Period. She was unnecessarily cruel to your daughter because she's a boy mum of the worst kind. Granny sucks. She's a miserable, unhappy woman who doesn't have her baby boy anymore, so she's determined to take over raising yours. This needs to stop now. Get those kids out of there ASAP, and again, do not go back ever. A commenter says, going home would be good too. Your husband's weak-ass apology lies to your daughter is the beginning of gaslighting. Quoting, it was a bad day, and then says every fucking day she spends with Granny is a bad day while her brother gets all the good days with Granny. In the same day, moment to moment? Nah, that's not what's happening. Granny hates you because you're a girl and loves your brother because he's a boy. You may be willing to negotiate that kind of abuse for your daughter, but I would not be. She deserves better, and so does your son. When your husband comes back, let him know that you will not tolerate his mother's bullshit for 1 second and you are heading home. Once home, you and he should go to marriage counseling to see if he can understand that this isn't something he can make better or lie to your daughter about. So Opie does come back into the post to update and says, "Hi, I wanted to provide an update since some of you had asked. Honestly, I was avoiding it initially because I had gone against the advice given. My daughter and husband had come back last night with him showing her around the area. My daughter was happy. My husband said he made it clear to his mum that the favoritism wouldn't stand. So I chose to stay. This morning my mother-in-law was extra sweet to my daughter, showing her stuff around the house and kitchen. It seemed a bit fake syrupy sweetness to me, but I thought, okay, maybe I'm cynical. She's trying and my daughter can't tell, so it's all good, and the morning went fine. But after lunch, when we were in the living room, she was telling my daughter her responsibilities as an older sister. That her brother is a baby and younger than her, and she needs to now be a big girl and make sure he's happy. It maybe doesn't sound bad in words, but the tone was one of lecture. So I just said, Jazzy is a baby too, and tickled her to make her laugh and just kind of put her at ease and diffuse the tension of the lecture. At this, my mother-in-law said she's just fulfilling her right and responsibility by educating my daughter that she's her dad's mum. She's earned the right to educate her grandkids, again in front of her. That was it for me. Maybe in isolation it wouldn't have, but considering yesterday, I told my daughter we'd play with her toys in the room and took her and my son up. I called my husband and told him what had happened. He kept asking how she said it in the setting, and I was just like, you know I planned to give her an honest chance this morning, otherwise I would have done all this yesterday, and to trust me when I'm saying she crossed the line. I told him I'm changing our flights to catch the earliest one out. I need him to come with us, or he has to tell our daughter why daddy isn't coming back home with us. He said he'll come too and sort out the flight. I told him I just want the earliest one, whenever it is, and told him to come back. He's out with his friends today. He told me later we fly out early tomorrow morning now. The last flight today was like 2 hours from our call, so it wouldn't be enough time and he'll be here soon. I'm just packing our stuff up now. I went downstairs a few times to grab some of our stuff. She tried talking to me, telling me to calm down. I just told her he'll talk to her when he comes. I should have listened and just done this yesterday. I deserve any incoming criticism. I'm so angry with myself too. My daughter has had to be in an uncomfortable position twice rather than once because of that, and we could have celebrated New Year's Eve in Atlanta instead of here. Thank you all for the advice. I appreciated it so much." So we have further updates shortly, but there were some comments. The first one said, "Rooting for you. I think you've done great in a really difficult situation, and I also think you're a great mum." Opie says, "Thank you. That means a lot to me." Commenter says, "It's easy for strangers on the internet to tell you to just leave or to tell the person off, but in practice, it's more difficult. Well done for getting the flight and getting out of there. Travel safe." Another commenter says, "You did not give mother-in-law the benefit of the doubt. You gave it to your husband. I don't know if you had siblings or not, but kids can sniff out the favoritism from miles away. If the cake slices or pizza are a single degree bigger than my sister's, I would go wild. Protect your girl. It's not easy having to navigate life as a young woman, and she should enjoy her life as a kid before she gets the worst the world has to offer once she reaches puberty." Commenter says, "You don't deserve criticism for not leaving sooner. It's perfectly fine to try and preserve the relationship, and frankly, one more day isn't going to make much difference in the scheme of things. However, it's very clear that your mother-in-law isn't going to stop inserting an odd vision of how your children need to be treated and her expectations for each of them. You tried, and that is as much as your husband can ask for. You didn't set up this dynamic. His mother did. She is the one insisting that her worldview must be heard and implemented. It's hard to know why she sees boys and girls the way she does, but honestly, you've no obligation to hear her out or to even try to understand her. These are your children, not hers." Commenter says, "Leave the house when she isn't around. She doesn't deserve to say goodbye to any of you, not the arsehole." Opie says, "We're going to be leaving before dawn basically. I don't know if she'll be up then or not, but if she is, it's fine. We'll say goodbye. When we get home, I'll talk to him about how we proceed with our relationship with our kids. I definitely don't think there's a point to having dinner at the table together. I'll either order out or have him take the four of us out. Probably the former because otherwise she'll ask to come along too." Opie adds an update and says, "We're at the airport now waiting for boarding. I thought I'd give my last update now, it's not, since I'm going to be really tired back at home. When my husband spoke to her, I have to admit that I eavesdropped. I don't know if that makes me an arsehole, but it is what it is. It concerned my daughter, so I feel it was okay for me to do, and if it was super private, they shouldn't have been doing it in the living room. He was really disappointed with his mum, saying they'd gone over this yesterday and she'd given him her word to drop the favoritism. She denied any favoritism and said I was overreacting and just looking for an excuse to go. Never mind that if that were the case, I would have done this yesterday, or 2 days ago now since it's past midnight. She also said if I was the one with the problem, why does everyone have to go? She came up to say goodbye to us before she went to sleep. To her credit, she didn't make a scene in front of my daughter and said her goodbyes to us. She was obviously cold with me, but I mean that's to be expected. Thanks again for all the help and a happy 2026. Then OP comes in with their final update and says my mother-in-law hasn't been in contact with me since then, which is maybe for the best, but has been with my husband. He said she is understandably upset about how we left, but he'd clarified to her that no one was going to have a good time with the way things had become, and that she needed to be more careful with what she says and how she treats our daughter vis-a-vis our son. He's been the one sending pictures since then, which used to be my responsibility. I brought up how we're going to treat her relationship with our family given what has happened. I brought up that this wasn't isolated. She clearly wanted a grandson ever since I first got pregnant. I just hadn't expected her to still be partial, and now that we know what happened, we should consider distance. He said due to where we live, it was limited contact anyway. He agreed with me that her behavior cannot stand, but also said that he knows his mum. Now that she understands the possible repercussions, she will amend her behavior, and if not, we will continue distance. His reasoning was that she is a widow with only one set of grandchildren. She'll play nice essentially. I hope she does. I would like my children to have a good relationship with his mother like they do with my parents, but I don't know. Fortunately, like he said, there is limited contact in a way naturally, and the next time we would have normally planned to meet is a while away. I don't want to bring up considering not meeting her right now. He didn't complain at all or second guess us leaving, and I do truly love and appreciate him for that, so I'll have that conversation later. And a lot of the comments were feeling like I'm feeling in this situation, that it still feels like it's more temporary containment because mother-in-law never actually accepted any responsibility. Even towards the end, she was denying favoritism, accusing OP of overreacting, and basically reframing it as OP wanting to leave anyway. So her underlying thoughts haven't changed. She still fundamentally sees the grandson differently and still thinks her behavior is justified. The only thing she's really learned is that there could possibly be consequences for her if she carries on. So like OP saying, she's going to play nice. Is that really what you want? She's going to play nice, but behind your back might be doing other shit in more sneakier ways. I mean, the natural low contact by distance is a great thing, I think. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.